Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
In the studio with us today, I'm going to assume from two different locations from what I'm reading in your bio. Rachel Hurley is with us from Memphis.
That is correct.
And then we have Frank Keith, who is from the Atlanta area.
That is correct.
Welcome to the show. They make up Sweetheart Publicity, also known as Sweetheart Pub, when you go to their site. Thanks, guys, for being on the show. My first question is, normally I ask people how they got into the business, and we can get to that. But I want to ask, how did you two get together and create this company?
Well, I used to work for a company called Baby Robot Media as a publicist. And I've been working as a publicist for a long time, but more as like a gatekeeper with a larger artists, and people just contact me. And then I started working with more up-and-coming artists at Baby Robot, and Frank was my assistant.
This is true.
There you go.
So I taught him everything he knows.
Wow.
But he has a business degree, a music business degree from the University of Georgia, and is much more in tune with the business side than I am. And, you know, I never really wanted to work on my own because I don't want to do the business stuff, right? I don't want to like invoice people or talk about money or schedule. I mean, you know, I just want to do what I do best, which is talking to other people about music.
So you make sure that Frank does all the dirty work.
That's right. But he offered, and that's the best part of our backstory, is he came to me and he was like, you know, we should just be doing this on our own. And I was like, but I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. And he goes, I will do all of that. And I was like, wow, we just made the perfect connection.
How long you guys been doing this together?
We've been working together for 4 years, and we started Sweetheart in the perfect month, January 2020.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time to launch a business.
In the music area.
Yeah.
But you two, because of your physical separation from each other, one of you in Atlanta and the other one in Memphis, necessarily is not such a bad thing, because you've already started the quarantine mode of working out of your house, isolated from other people. How has that been, especially starting a new company and a new company in the music industry, which is all but shut down? Yeah.
So we were lucky enough to bring a stable of business with us from Baby Robot Media. So it's not like we were dragging our heels, cold calling clients right out of the gates. We had the first quarter, maybe Q2 booked. You know, I mean, pre-pandemic, if you have a proper release plan, you're booking months in advance. So we were booked well into after everything shut down. And we just kind of kept pushing. And I guess, yeah, like you said, not necessarily a bad thing. It's already work from home. The day-to-day work as a publicist is basically email. There's some phone action in there too, but everything we needed to do, we could really still do from being at home. So on our side, nothing really changed. What did change, of course, musicians lost a massive amount of income. So budgets got super tight. Outlets that we reach out to on a regular basis, staff writers get laid off. You know, there's magazines that we used to be able to pitch. We could pick between a handful of people to pitch on any given day, and suddenly it was just the editor is the last one there, and everybody's pitching them everything all the time. So there was a definite bottleneck. I think another silver lining to it was, since we did break off from a larger firm, our overhead became a lot lower. We only have 2 mouths to feed. So we were able to get by. I definitely think we could have been busier last year if there was not the pandemic. But, it wasn't as devastating for us as it was for so many other businesses in this space and beyond. So we definitely, I don't want to say we got lucky because we kind of put ourselves in this position, but we were able to get by.
In one way, we were really super lucky because all of our clients, even up until this point, are referrals.
True.
We've never had to go out and look for, clients. And, when there's no music shows going on, it would be hard to, you don't want to email somebody cold and just be like, hey, I like your music. We just haven't had to do that. Our clients have referred us to other people, and we have a steady number of people coming to us every week. So we get to kind of pick and choose who we want to work with. Our biggest hang up now is people come to us that we really like, and they want to put out, a single or a record in 2 months. And I'm like, well, we're booked 3 months in advance. So we have to turn down people sometimes just because we can't fit them into our schedule.
Let's take a step back from what you said in that, and I think it was Frank that mentioned it, but when you set up a project, whether it's an album or a single or a book release or whatever it is, you need a certain amount of time to get ahead of the stream. I've heard anywhere from 90 days to 120 days minimum. Has that changed because of this bottleneck that Frank was talking about where, all the staff writers are gone and now it's the editors? Do you have to get farther out ahead because of that smaller, almost a funnel you have to get through to get to the people in order to get things set up, to get it released at the time that you want it out there?
I'd say not necessarily. Even if we do a 90-day campaign for someone, we still need about 3 weeks on the front end of that just to get to know the album and write the bio and set up the campaign and make a plan and all that. So it's really about 4 months from the date of release. But, we've both been doing this for a while. We have really good contacts. We know the exact person that's going to like the music that we send. So we're not just throwing stuff up against a wall over and over. And we are not cold pitching people, whereas, some people might still have to do that. We kind of have a stable of people that we know we can get through to that is going to like what we're sending. And so that hasn't really has affected us as much. But, I've also been in the music business for 25 years. So I've built my contact list to the point where I can get a yes or no pretty quickly.
And what you said there, the contact list, back, and I'm going to date myself here a little bit, but when I first started doing this, we had Rolodexes, and you pulled the Rolodex card in and out, and, sometimes you'd staple their business card to it or you would write on it. A lot of times you pencil because you'd have to change phone numbers. You, of course, didn't have emails back in those days. Contacts, it goes a little farther than that, I would think. It really comes down to relationships with these people. Sure. And developing those relationships. Is it easier let me put it this way. With these contacts, these relationships that you have, does the editor or the contact person, the staff writer, do they seem to be more comfortable with a publicist getting ahead of this rather than the independent artist approaching them themselves? Is it easier for the doors to get open with that publicist such as yourselves in place?
Well, we have a newsletter and a podcast, and we often talk to clients or possible clients or just musicians in general about how they can pitch themselves. And we really tell them from bottom to top how you can do it, what needs to be in the pitch, who you need to pitch. We're happy to give away that information. However, Most of these editors are getting 200, 300 pitches a day, and they can't really go through and listen and read to all of them. So when they see a trusted source and they see it's like from Frank or from me come through, they're much more likely to actually read that because they know the type of stuff that we're going to pitch, and they know they've liked it in the past. So it's not totally impossible. And in a lot of my interviews, I ask them, can a musician pitch you themselves? And they're all like, yes, totally, they can pitch us. But they've got to do it in a standard format that makes it easy for them to grab the information that they need. You know, they don't need someone to pitch them and say, hey, I got a new song, listen to it. But they also don't need, a book. So it's got to be like short, sweet, to the point, and, your bio, your photo, the link to the song. And there's a certain format, and you got to know exactly what you're asking for, not just cover my music, but what is this for?
So it's really a bit of a, maybe for lack of a better term, a bit of a balancing act, knowing what that formula is that the writer, the editor, the publisher is looking for. Because as you said, they're getting pitched a couple hundred or more a day of potential articles to write about, or projects or albums or whatever it is. And there's just isn't that much time out there. So you really need to create something that puts you at the top of the stack.
You don't want to ask an outlet, like you don't want to go to NPR for a premiere. They don't do premieres. You don't want to go to an outlet and ask for coverage that they don't do, right? So you need to be looking at these sites, finding the writers that do the certain coverage that you want, then find that writer's contact info and pitch them specifically based on what they've done before. Because some writers only do, more high profile clients, and they're not going to cover a newer artist. And some people do just listicles of these are the songs that are out this week. And, every single site has a different type of coverage that they do. And if you aren't taking the time to figure out what that site covers, and you're randomly pitching them and just saying, will you write about this? They're just going to bypass that. It's too much work on their part to figure out what it is you want and where it can fit in. And there's so much good music out there. When they find a pitch that has all the information that they want, and then they just click that button and listen to the song, and the date's right, they can get it into their schedule, then they're going to be like, yes, this is easy for me. I'm going to do this.
Yep, absolutely. I'm reminded of a couple very generous editors. I don't want to name names here, but editors at outlets that we reach out to a lot have actually referred clients to us after the artist pitched them independently. And they're like, hey, you might want to talk to a publicist. So sometimes you can get lucky going that route too. It's just, I always giggle when I get those emails because it's like, show me what you sent them. Let's talk. We'll figure it out.
We're going to take a break, get a word in with one of our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Rachel Hurley and Frank Keith with Sweetheart Publicity.
This is your boy DC, the brain supreme of Tag Team. And you're listening to the business side of music. Whoop, there it is.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larry Butler, and I want to send you a free digital copy of my new book, The Singer-Songwriter Rulebook, 101 Ways to Help You Improve Your Chances of Success. That's right. Everything you need to know to launch your career as a singer-songwriter, all based on my 40 years in the live performance arena. And believe me, I've seen it all. In my book, you'll find the 10 things you have to deal with before even thinking about becoming a singer-songwriter performer. You'll also learn about the 5 things every singer-songwriter can do this weekend to make their live show better. 5 things I can guarantee that you are not doing already. Plus, there's tips on songwriting and staging, photo and video shoots, publishing, merch, dozens of other topics. All written for people who don't particularly like to read. And again, it's free. Just go to the Business Side of Music website homepage and look for my book cover. Click on it, and a free digital copy of my book will be yours. I'm Larry Butler, and I approve of this message.
Whether you consider yourself a musician or not, music is all around us, and it affects our everyday lives, whether it's background music influencing our shopping habits in a store, organ music adding the vibe to a baseball game, or a playlist convincing us to keep going on that last mile of a run. I'm Mindy Peterson, host of the podcast Enhance Life with Music, where we take a holistic look at music's benefits through the lens of science and medicine, entertainment, and business. You can find me and Enhance Life with Music at mpetersonmusic.com/podcast or wherever you get your audio.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio, we're doing a three-way today, which is a little different for us, but kind of cool. Rachel Hurley is with us from Memphis, Tennessee, and Frank Keith is with us from Atlanta. They're both with Sweetheart Publicity, and we're talking about really kind of the publicity game and how it works for the independent artist. And you mentioned something else that I want to go back and touch base on, and that is you're getting pitched all the time, not only acts independently, but now you've got these magazines, these digital and physical formats that are saying, hey, we got an artist that pitched themselves and we recommend they come to you for the proper setup and work. How do you choose who you're going to work with and who you're not going to work with? Because obviously there's a lot of great talent out there.
You can kind of just look at their socials, listen to their past releases, listen to the music that they've sent over, how they've pitched you, how professional they have been in pitching you, and knowing I should give this information, I should give this information, I should give this information. And that's kind of the first trick to see, are they ready for this, right? Are they too green, or do they know kind of what they're doing, are going to be easy to work with and easy to coach through, next steps and all that. Sometimes you can get an email from an artist and right off the bat, just the way that they have written their pitch to you, you can right away think, I don't know if they're a little green. They might need some more time. And you can look at their socials and see how much engagement is on it, how hard they're working on it, because those two things go hand in hand, press and social media. We can get press all day long, but if the artist can't help us to disseminate the press, then it doesn't do a lot for them. Our situation is that a lot of times we are the first people that a musician will hire. They won't have a manager, they won't have a label, they won't know anything about digital marketing. And so that's an extra level of support that we have to give them. And that kind of separates us from a lot of other publicity companies, because I've talked to a lot of my clients that have been with other people, and the standard is to just go get you a piece of press, email it to you, and be done. And we really work our system a little bit differently, where we have all of our clients in a private Facebook group, and we're constantly coaching them. Every day we're saying, have you done this? Do you know about this? This is the latest news. That's why we put out the newsletter every week. That's why we do the podcast every week, because we're trying to coach them into being more of their own manager and knowing all the things that they are responsible for, because you can't just hire a publicist and then sit back and wait to become a star. There's just so many different steps to it. And speaking of Frank Keith and Great Peacock, the band he's in, I actually did their last record at Baby Robot, and I just did their new record at Sweetheart Pub. And we talk about this all the time, where their new record has done great. It spent like 3 months on the Americana charts. They're going on a co-headlining tour with the Cordovas this summer. It's like a huge deal. And on this new record, they had all of the pieces of the puzzle. They had a manager. They had 2 radio promoters. They had a digital marketer. They had a label. They had a publicist. And that's why they got better and bigger press than of anything they've released. This is their 3rd album. But I think a lot of people don't realize that all these things work together. And that's how you get all these big pieces of press. Because you've got 5 people with 5 Rolodexes. reaching out to all of your, contacts. And it just really helps to have all those pieces of the puzzle and not just be on your own.
So you brought up something that I find interesting, and that is when you hire a publicist, and I'm going to say it's the same thing with a manager and to a certain aspect, an agent, you shouldn't sit back and just hope that they do the job. There's a lot of interaction that needs to go on between all of the players. And so I guess my one question would be is with Great Peacock, Frank, did you find it easier to put all those pieces together and be interactive with everybody else this time over the first two projects that you worked on? And was it because you learned as you went? Were you figuring out things of what worked and what didn't work?
Something to that effect. Yeah. The funny thing is you get to a certain level and you have all those moving parts, and then you're just getting bombarded with, you still have a to-do list every day. Interactivity, like you said. That's not to say you need to be hounding your publicist or your manager. That's not interactivity. You need to be, it's symbiotic, right? And I think a lot of the message we try to get across to our clients, and I was guilty of this, the Peacock boys were guilty of this, so many people out there are guilty of this, is you don't know what you don't know.
Right. I love that. That's a great line. Absolutely.
Yeah, the first record, second record, we thought we did everything, but it was a much more comprehensive release plan this time around on number 3, because we actually did everything. And I'm sure I'll figure something out that we missed when it's time for number 4. But yeah, it's important to stress that like all that work, like what Rachel's talking about, it doesn't matter if you hire anyone or not, like it's got to get done in like a proper release plan. So either you're going to do it or it's not going to get done if you haven't hired anyone.
So we talk about publicity and we talk about social media, and to a great extent, they work hand in hand, but the social media is very important. What types of numbers do you look at when we talk about you're going to take on a new client? What types of numbers do you look at? What social media platforms are you looking at for those numbers?
It's a little bit more complex than just looking at someone's numbers, because you can look at someone's numbers and they not be very high, but then look at who worked on the album, who's connected to the album. Are those people going to draw eyeballs? If it's like produced by somebody special or bigger, it's also more about engagement than numbers, I think, because you could have 10,000 Facebook fans, and if all of your posts get like 4 likes, then it's like, what does that do for you? Or you could have 1,000 Facebook fans and you're getting like 60, 70, 80 comments and likes on all of your stuff. And so that's better to have like a niche audience that's really engaged in what you're doing and is willing to take direction from you. Like if you're like, go pre-save my song, go comment on this piece of press. If you can like leverage your audience to actually do things, that's really the most important thing. So it varies, you just kind of have to look at it and gauge it that way. Like, do they have 300 fans and they haven't posted in 6 months? Well, I'm not going to be as interested in that. In terms of which social media platforms that I would look at would be Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram mostly, but I feel like most of our clients, when they come on board with us, they're not using those platforms in the best way. And so once again, even though that's not publicity, that's something that we have to kind of go through and talk to our artists about how to use them better. You can't really cross-post that stuff because each one of those platforms works differently. And I'll tell you one thing, press outlets hate it when musicians screenshot their press and then just post it in their feed, because that's not going to lead anybody to read the press. And so I know a lot of people are like, oh, Facebook's over, it's all older people on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. But Facebook has a great targeting mechanism. Facebook ads work. That's why they make so much money. And being able to use that to niche down your audience to try, should I try this age pool? Should I try these cities? Should I try people that like similar music to ours? That can really give you a lot of good information to maybe like where you want to go play a show. Where is your audience? And Spotify too. That's good to keep up with, to find out where are people listening to our music. And you can be super surprised by that. Once you like do the ads, and if you're keeping up with it, then you might realize we've got like a fan base in Jackson, Mississippi, and we didn't even know that it was there. And certainly Instagram is great for posting pictures and interacting with fans that way, but it's hard to get people to use Facebook to go somewhere else, right? If you want them to go to your Spotify, if you want them to go to your website, if you want them to pre-save your song. And then Twitter is the best place to go interact with music writers. That's where music writers are. They write for a living. They talk about music all day long on Twitter. And that's kind of like a non-stalkery way to go find out what they're interested in, what they're talking about, engage with them, get them to see your name. And then when I pitch that writer something, or by someone, if they're being engaged by that someone on Twitter, they're going to be more likely to read that pitch and see what it's all about. So they all work differently. They all do different stuff. I love TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I've got like almost 40,000 followers on TikTok. And I did that just to show my clients that it wasn't that difficult to do, because I didn't want to get on there. I thought it was embarrassing, but I knew I needed to. And I think that's going to grow more and more exponentially over the years as more people get comfortable with it. So those are probably like the 4 that we look at.
Do you see any of those maybe becoming the next MySpace and going away and being replaced with something else? Or do you think those platforms are all still fairly strong and fairly viable?
I do think that they are all fairly strong and fairly viable. I think that TikTok is reaching in and taking Instagram people. I know they took me away. Once I got on TikTok, I found it so much more interesting than Instagram. I'm bored by just scrolling through people's photos. I don't care. The one big thing that I try to convince all of my clients about is that we're kind of in social media 2.0, where before it was like, oh, I want to follow like every single band that I've heard of. And I want to like reach out and friend every single person I've ever known. And now I'm all about like deleting people, because if they're not giving me value, then they're taking a spot in my feed. And, you know, I just want to be able to see and interact with the people that are valuable to me. And so if you're not giving me value, especially on Facebook, when bands just use their platform to promote over and over, watch my video, listen to my song, they're not giving me any deeper knowledge of who they are. They're not making themselves to be more dynamic than anyone else. And if you look at the big people on social media in the music business, you know, they've found a way to connect with their audience on things other than just music. And if you can do that, then people will not only remember, oh, you're a musician, but, oh, you're a musician that's into politics. Oh, you're a musician that gardens. Oh, you're a musician that cooks food and teaches recipes. Whatever it is that you're passionate about and you can talk about all day long, which helps so much, because when you're just posting about yourself, it's hard to get a conversation going about yourself. When people are like, what's your favorite song on my new album? You know, people are bored of that. But if you can talk about something else that you're kind of on an even level about, and you can start conversations with people and they feel like they are giving you just as much as you're giving them, that's where you create those like real connections and lifelong fans.
We're going to take another break, come back. We're going to have some more conversation with Rachel Hurley and Frank Keith with Sweetheart Publicity.
Hey, this is Steve Jones, co-founder of Beat Chain, and you're listening to The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
What does it take to succeed in country music? Hi, this is Candy O'Terry, your host for Country Music Success Stories.
And this is JC Don Valeris, your Music City mentor. Our Nashville-based podcast takes you into the homes and onto the back porches of country music icons.
And the stories they tell us just might inspire you to make your country music success story come true.
Check out Country Music Success Stories on your favorite podcast platform.
And subscribe today.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Back in the studio, Sweetheart Publicity is with us today. Rachel Hurley and Frank Keith. You guys have a podcast, among many things that you have going on. And let's talk about Music Rookie, because I, first of all, love the title. And so many people out there, it's kind of like the people that want to start a podcast and don't know where to start and don't know how to put it together. Musicians are the same way. I want to be a musician. I can play guitar. I can write a song. What are my next steps? That's it. They're just kind of music rookies.
Right. And that's the main reason why I've been doing podcasts since 2006. So I've been doing it a long time. And, you know, I kind of stopped because I couldn't figure out something that nobody else was doing that was like worth someone's time to listen to. And then I found myself being asked questions by our clients over and over and over again about specific things. Like they didn't know what a radio promoter did, or how do you get a sync license, or do I need an entertainment lawyer?
Should I start my own label?
Yeah. How do I get on a label? And I would often reach out to, because, you know, I have a deep contact list, and I'd be like, well, let me talk to this person and find out. And then I realized, you know what, I should be recording these conversations, putting them out there. And then when people ask me, I just refer you to the podcast, you know, and we've had everyone from like the editor-in-chief for American Songwriter and the social media manager for Consequence of Sound and our own entertainment lawyer, radio promoters and sync license people. And, you know, every time something comes up where someone has a question, if I can't just like rattle it off, then I just reach out to one of my colleagues and say, hey, can we like have a conversation about this? And they answer all the questions and give me insider tips. And, you know, it's really good for our clients and anyone else who wants to listen.
And I was going to say, and that's really kind of it in a nutshell, is just providing the information that they don't know how to find out or how to ask otherwise, right?
Right. And, you know, that's the biggest issue, is that a lot of people, they just... You know, there's this thing where people say, oh, well, you've got to know somebody to get X, Y, Z. And it's kind of has this negative connotation. But most of the people that know a lot of people and have a lot of contacts, it's because they've been doing this forever. And, you know, they've built up those contacts through a lot of hard work, right? It's not that they were like dropped with a silver spoon into the middle of the music business, so that they like worked for a long time. They met people, they kept up the relationships, and, you know, now they feel comfortable reaching out to ask for help. And people really do like be asked for help. You would be surprised. They're happy to tell you what they know.
And Frank, while all this is going on, as we've touched on it a little bit, you're a member of Great Peacock. And you're on your you're on your third project now? Your fourth project?
Fourth is in pre-production, I'll say. You heard it here first.
And and you're getting ready to go out on the road and tour, hopefully here soon?
Yeah, gosh, I don't know when this episode's going to air. Forgive me. So this might not be an evergreen statement, but we're heading out next week for really the better part of the next 2 months. There's some gaps in there, but I'll be working from the hot spot in the back of the van and green rooms for several weeks.
Do you see things, especially from not only the band's perspective of Great Peacock, but also from a public relations perspective, do you see things starting to ease up? And I preface that by saying I've spoken to a lot of people on the show, guests we've had on the show, and some are saying, yeah, you know, it's 2021, especially Q3, Q4, is going to open up like gangbusters. And then I've had a few that have said, yeah, I think we're being a little presumptuous when we believe that, we're going to see 50,000 seat festivals taking place. What's your two's perspective on getting back out there? Is it going to be a slow ramp up getting into the remainder of 2021? Do you think 2022 is going to be more normal for the music business?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be slow because it's pocket by pocket, right? I was just on a call with a client that lives in Toronto, and they're back on DEFCON 1 lockdown, right now, and Texas is open. So I think until everybody's ship gets righted.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be, kind of muddy for a little while. I think it is presumptuous to think, is Coachella happening? I forget. Something is that?
Bonnaroo is.
Is that the one that, Bonnaroo, they're doing it in the fall, right? Right by Rhythm and Roots. I guess Radius Clauses might not come back for a little while, if that's the case.
But at the same time, we're not doing CMA Music Fest. And Stagecoach and Coachella, they're both gone for this year. So yeah, it's kind of, we're all throwing darts at, maybe not at a map, but we're all throwing darts at a calendar, trying to figure out when and where. Yeah,
I mean, just to speak to the tour I'm looking at, I wouldn't be surprised if we had some dates get canceled close to the last minute. I don't want that to happen.
Right, but it's a reality.
It just wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're doing Americana Fest this year. It got canceled last year, and we have 10 clients playing that. And it's going to be right up until the end where we find out, are they going to be playing in clubs? Are they going to set some stuff up outside? How many people are they going to let into the clubs? I know when they sent out for the people that were supposed to play it last year, they sent out something for you to re-register, and they asked you, do you feel comfortable playing at 25% capacity, 50% capacity, 75% capacity? And I don't know what everyone said. So I think it's going to be right. That's in September. And I don't think we're really going to know what the setup's going to be until a couple weeks before it happens. So it is going to be a big wait and see. We did do a showcase last weekend in Nashville with 5 of our bands at the Basement, and they set that up outside in the parking lot, but it was still limited capacity. We could only sell 88 tickets, and that wasn't even enough to pay all the bands.
Right.
So if nobody can make money, even if there is these limited capacities arrangements, I don't know how many of those things will happen unless bands are just we're going to play for free because we just want to play. It's opportunity. There's still a lot to figure out.
Yeah, and I know that Summer NAMM is currently on schedule here in Nashville, even though Winter NAMM didn't happen this year. So it's an interesting dynamic to see where things are going to go.
Yeah.
How can people find Sweetheart Publicity?
Just sweetheartpub.com. And that's where you can sign up for our newsletter. We also have a column on the website called Free Advice that we do every week, where we just write up a piece of free advice that we see our clients maybe need. And then, obviously everybody can read it. That, we're all about disseminating information. I'll tell anyone anything because I'm not scared of them knowing it and me not being able to do my job. Like we talked about, it's all about relationships, and you're welcome to try. I'm going to have a little bit of an easier time getting people to answer me just because I've been doing it longer. But I'll give you, here's how you can pitch a radio station. Here's how you can pitch a website. Here's, how you can sign up for this. I don't mind giving away that information at all.
Very good. Rachel, Frank, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound designed by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.
Never had one lesson.
You're out. Finished. Expelled.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.